Welcome to Micro Drawings. I'm glad you stopped by the channel to check this out. I've got a quarter and Q-tip for reference, along with the pen I'll be using, a black Copic multiliner 0.03. The subject for this drawing is Agent Peely from Fortnite. So usually I start with facial features, but quite honestly, Agent Peely doesn't really have a lot of facial features. He's got eyes, or in this case, sunglasses, and a line for a mouth. So instead, I started at the top of the banana. Then from there, I worked down, kind of using that as an anchor for reference points. So again, I'm using the 0.03 Copic multiliner. Later on, I'll use Copic sketch markers to color him in. I'll use the fine point of the markers for that. And so just working from top to bottom here. I've got his sunglasses in. I'm trying to give enough detail without having too much black pen work. So for example, there's some shading or shadowing. The left side of him, as you look at him, is a little darker than the right, as far as the reference photo I was using. So instead of drawing the black line all the way through his nose area and his mouth, it came from the top, but then it stopped because I'll use the different color Copic sketch markers to give that illusion of the shadow and the three-dimensionality. And then I've got his bow tie in there. Yeah, the real Agent Peely has a white polka dotted bow tie. It's red with the white polka dots. In this case, it's just too small for me to include the little polka dots on it. So as I'm drawing, I usually think ahead to how I'm going to color it, and that was my thought process with that. I'm working on his hands and fingers. They're kind of tough because they're pretty small. So I'm trying to give the illusion that all the little fingers are there. I think I did okay on it. It's just when you're working in such a small space, it's kind of tough because I don't want them to just all mush together and be a black blob where his hands are. I still need to check out, somebody has mentioned some rapidograph, I think it is. So at any rate, maybe some smaller marker or thinner markers that I could use. So I'm continuing to go down from the top, adding on his suit coat bottom with the pockets. And now I'm going on to his legs. And I'll admit I've never drawn banana legs before, so it was a good new experience for me. They're pretty thin, and the pants that Agent Peely is wearing are pretty tight. So I just tried my best to, make it relatively the right length versus the rest of his body. That was is what I was mentally thinking as far as when I was drawing that. Get him the approximate length that it looked like would make sense with the top of the body according to the reference photo. So then continuing to work on that. Again, I'll be coming back in with the Copic sketch markers to add color. I'll need a couple different shades of yellow to give that three-dimensional effect. A couple different shades of brown for his suit jacket and his pants. And for his shoes. I end up going over the brown a couple times and tried to blend the colors. The sketch markers, the Copic sketch markers, are an alcohol base, so they will blend together. There's my Q-tip for reference. And a lot of times when I'm showing my reference, I'm kind of buying time for me to get my stuff straight outside of the camera view. So in this case, I was trying out a couple different, actually 3 different color yellows. I decided on this one. And I've got another darker yellow. I know the darker one is called cadmium yellow. I don't remember if the one, the lighter one here I used, I think that might have been a lemon yellow. So there I'm going with the darker one, again, giving a little bit of that illusion that there's some shadowing there. And then I hit his hands a little bit too. There's a quarter for reference. You can see it totally covers him up. And again, buying a little bit more time. There's the orange coloring that little top corner of his, I guess it's a handkerchief in his front pocket. So Had to get that fit in there. And now the red bow tie goes on. Again, way too small to get those polka dots to actually show up. And now off to the side, you can't see it, but I'm going through my different browns, trying to find a lighter shade and a darker shade. And in that case, I was doing the tip of the banana. And then I'm starting to fill in his jacket, his suit coat jacket. And I'll work down pant legs. Again, I used a fine tip end of the Copic sketch marker. The other end is more of a broad chisel tip. And when I use the fine tip, I have to be very careful to push up to the black line. Sometimes I leave it a little short because I know the marker ink will bleed in just a little bit. So I try to be careful. Sometimes it goes over. Sometimes I can clean it up a little bit with a colorless blender that pretty much dilutes the alcohol-based ink and in a way erases it. There I'm putting on the bottom of that little brown piece just to add a little three-dimensionality. And there I'm putting a little darker on the bottom of the shoes. Starting to add a little shadow here. I'll come back with the lighter brown and blend it together a little bit. Thanks again for hanging around if you're still there. And please subscribe to the channel and share with others. I'd really appreciate that. And it will give you updates of future videos. And hopefully you'll check those out as well and share with other people. So there I'm going back in with that brown. Now I'm blending those two shades of brown a little bit. Trying to give, again, that illusion that there's some shading, some shadows there, as if the light's coming from the right side. The gun on his right leg as we look at him was a little tough. Tried to give the illusion of it being there, but quite honestly, it was pretty small, so there's not a whole lot of detail there. Here I am coloring his dress shirt underneath his suit jacket, just barely touching that because there wasn't a lot showing around the red bow tie. There I'm putting the date. Again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And here's a quarter for reference. And hope you enjoyed the drawing.